Page Tunes Red. From the pages of Page Tunes Magazine, monthly number 2, February 2024. Story and artwork by Michael Zigerlig. A Faustian Palette. In the town of Cullfield, where cobblestone streets whispered tales of the past, Jessica Harper immersed herself in her modest art studio. Struggling and fueled by the passion for her craft, she sought refuge in the vibrant colors that danced upon her canvases. One day, a mysterious stranger named Mr. Noble crossed the threshold of her studio, casting a shadow on her solitary haven. "Miss Harper?" Mr. Noble's voice was smooth, almost hypnotic, as he examined her paintings with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. "Your art has a unique essence, a quality that transcends the ordinary. I have an offer for you, a contract that can transform your life." His offer was both beguiling and unsettling, a contract that promised Jessica prosperity in exchange for a peculiar pact. Mr. Noble would pay her a generous monthly retainer fee, but in return, Jessica had to weave 3 small but very specific symbols into each portrait she painted. The subjects of these portraits were to be none other than the residents of Cullfield, each face capturing the essence of the quaint town. Jessica hesitated, uncertainty clouding her expression. What's the catch? Why these symbols? And why portraits of the people in Cullfield? Mr. Noble's smile widened, revealing a glint of mystery in his eyes. "Consider it a collaboration, Miss Harper, a fusion of your artistic talent with the very essence of this town. The symbols are a bit of a quirk of mine, old family crests of my ancestors. In return, financial success will grace your doorstep, bringing stability to your life." Jessica's financial struggles tugged at her like a persistent storm cloud, and the promise of wealth and stability proved too tempting to resist. With a hesitant yet hopeful nod, she agreed to Mr. Noble's terms, unaware of the mysterious forces she had just invited into her life. The quaint town of Cullfield, with its cobbled streets and historical charm, was blissfully unaware of the ominous deal that had transpired within the confines of Jessica's art studio. As the first strokes of her brush traced the faces of her unsuspecting neighbors, a quiet excitement blossomed within her, fueled by the newfound financial security that accompanied Mr. Noble's enigmatic contract. In the days that followed, Jessica's diligent brushstrokes captured the essence of Cullfield's residents, while an eerie undercurrent swept through the town. Despite the tranquil facade, whispers of unsettling disappearances among the town's residents circulated like a chilling wind. Yet, consumed by her artistic pursuit, Jessica remained oblivious to the ominous pattern unfolding around. Unbeknownst to her, renowned occult writer Daniel Peters arrived, drawn by whispers of an unsettling phenomenon. A sudden surge in disappearances every 67 years. The creaking doors of the town's history were about to swing open. His investigation led him to the homes of families affected by the recent disappearances. As he spoke with grieving relatives, he couldn't help but notice Jessica's portraits hanging on their walls, each one adorned with the same 3 symbols. The revelation sparked a chilling realization. The missing individuals were eerily connected to the artist's brush, their fates entwined with her paintings. The pages of Cullfield's history turned beneath Daniel's fingers as he delved deeper into the town's past. The disappearances seemed to coincide with artistic peaks, a pattern that echoed through generations. As he connected the threads, the evidence pointed directly at Jessica, her unwitting collaboration with Mr. Noble weaving a tapestry of dark consequences. His quest led him straight to Jessica Harper's doorstep, where her art studio stood as a silent witness to the mysterious pact that had unfolded within. Jessica, immersed in her creative sanctuary, sensed the weight of Daniel's gaze as he entered. The investigative writer wasted no time in presenting his findings. "Miss Harper, I believe there's a connection between your paintings and disappearances plaguing Cullfield every 67 years, he stated, his tone a mixture of curiosity and concern. Caught off guard, Jessica's eyes widened with a blend of surprise and trepidation. Disappearances? What are you talking about? Daniel began unraveling the intricate threads of Cullfield's history, each revelation a stroke on the canvas of the town's dark past. Portraits adorned with the same symbols Jessica had painted now hung in the homes of the missing individuals. A pattern emerged, a sinister dance between art and tragedy. Jessica listened intently as Daniel recounted the tales of grief-stricken families, their lives intertwined with the paintings that adorned their walls. The realization dawned upon her, casting a somber shadow over the once vibrant colors of her art. She walked Daniel through the whole situation, including Mr. Noble's arrival and the unconventional deal. "You unwittingly became a part of a recurring cycle, Miss Harper," Daniel explained, empathy in his voice. "Your collaboration with Mr. Noble has inadvertently tied your art to the fate of Cullfield's residents. There's a pattern of disappearances corresponding to the artistic peaks in this town, and you are at the center of it." Devastation etched across her face. Jessica grappled with the revelation. The once promising prosperity now bore the weight of a dark secret. Determined to confront the puppet master behind this dark tapestry, Daniel urged Jessica to sever the ties with Mr. Noble. With a heavy heart, she resolved to break the pact that had promised prosperity but delivered tragedy. The decision, however, was not without its challenges. As Jessica began painting over the symbols in her studio, a sudden storm descended upon Cullfield. As the storm unleashed its fury upon Jessica's house, it seemed to tear open a rift between worlds, allowing a horde of twisted and malevolent creatures to spill forth into the mortal realm. Among them, a variety of monstrous entities lurked, each one more nightmarish than the last. Some bore the semblance of goblin-like creatures, their forms twisted and contorted with dark energy. Their skin was flabby and pulsed with an otherworldly electricity, casting eerie shadows as they clawed at the doors and windows with a frenzied desperation. Jessica and Daniel now found themselves in an overwhelming battle against the dark forces unleashed by their decision. They hastily barricaded themselves inside the studio, the once comforting space now transformed into a battleground against the impending threat. More creatures of unfathomable horror emerged from the darkness. Some resembled tentacled monstrosities, their writhing appendages flailing wildly as they sought entry into Jessica's sanctuary. Each tentacle seemed to crackle with dark energy, pulsating with an unholy light that cast grotesque shadows upon the walls. Others took on twisted amalgamations of human and beast, their forms contorted into grotesque shapes that defied description. Their eyes glowed with an infernal light, burning with a malevolence that sent chills down Jessica's spine. Claws, like daggers forged from nightmare, extended from their gnarled fingers, scraping and scratching at the barriers of her home with a relentless ferocity. Amidst the chaos, yet more creatures emerged, each one more horrific than the last. Some seemed to possess wings, their leathery membranes blotting out the moonlight as they swooped and soared through the storm-tossed skies. Others slithered and crawled upon the ground, their forms obscured by the torrential rain as they skittered and scuttled towards Jessica's house with a hunger that knew no bounds. As the wind howled and the rain lashed against the windows, the missing faces from her portraits seemed to linger in the shadows, their silent plea echoing through the storm. In the confined space, Daniel, with several books tucked away in his backpack, hastily searched for the chapter that might offer a solution to their situation. Drawing upon his knowledge of occult rituals, he explained the nature of the pact. "It's image-based magic, Miss Harper. To end the contract with Mr. Noble, you must paint a portrait of him, including the same 3 symbols. It's the only way to break the connection." The urgency intensified as the monstrous entities outside redoubled their efforts to break through the barricades. The clock ticked relentlessly, marking a race against time to complete the portrait that held the key to severing the town's dark ties. As the storm raged on and the creatures outside seemed on the verge of breaking in, Jessica's brush danced across the canvas. Each stroke brought her closer to the completion of the portrait that would determine the fate of Cullfield and its unsuspecting residents. The studio, once a haven of creativity, now witnessed a struggle against supernatural forces. Inside the art studio, the rhythmic tapping of rain against windows competed with the urgency of Jessica's brush on the canvas. The monstrous entities pressed against doors and windows, their shadows casting eerie silhouettes in the dimly lit studio. With each stroke, Jessica felt the weight of the town's history on her shoulders. The studio quivered with tension as the storm outside reached its crescendo. The rhythmic patter of rain on the windows was joined by the guttural sounds of monstrous entities clawing at doors and windows. With each brushstroke, the symbols on the canvas seemed to come alive, pulsating with an otherworldly energy. The air crackled with an unspoken anticipation. As the final stroke hung in the air, a sudden hush descended upon the room. Time seemed to freeze as a goblin-like creature, teeth gnashing and eyes ablaze, descended through the chimney with an eerie grace. Its presence filled the room with a malevolent aura, casting elongated shadows on the walls. Jessica's heart pounded in her chest, and she exchanged a fleeting, apprehensive glance with Daniel. The entity launched itself at them, its movements a blur of menace. The wind outside howled in harmony with the impending clash, creating an orchestration of suspense. In the nick of time, Jessica's brush completed the last stroke on the portrait. An electrifying energy emanated from the canvas, and the symbols seemed to flare with an ethereal light. The creature, mid-air and poised for attack, froze in its trajectory. The studio crackled with an otherworldly energy, and then, in an instant, the goblin-like entity dissolved into a wisp of smoke, vanishing into the unseen forces that had birthed it. Simultaneously, all monsters surrounding and entering the house seemed to dissipate, as if the mystical tether connecting them to this realm had been severed. The symbols on the completed portrait seemed to pulse with a strange energy, echoing the defeat of the supernatural forces that had besieged the town. And slowly they disappeared along with the visage of Mr. Noble, leaving a completely blank canvas. The room, once a chaotic battleground, fell into a sudden stillness. The symbols on the portrait pulsed with a subdued glow, and the storm outside began to subside, leaving behind an eerie calm. Jessica and Daniel, catching their breath, exchanged a look of both relief and astonishment. The threat that loomed over Cullfield for generations had retreated for good. If you've been captivated by the magic of this audiobook, here's how you can immerse yourself even further and support the creation of more enthralling tales for your enjoyment. Unlock the ultimate listening journey with a yearly subscription on pagetunes.com. No interruptions, ad-free, and exclusive access to the full library of audiobooks and ebooks. Download and enjoy captivating stories offline, anytime, anywhere. Whether through subscription or individual purchases, you play a vital role in bringing more enchanting stories to life. Explore the merch store. From cozy hoodies to stylish mugs and much more, every purchase directly contributes to crafting more thrilling tales for your pleasure. Thank you and happy listening.